Welcome back to DIVEBOMB IndyCar Podcast, and once again we have a very special guest. I think our third week in a row we've got a British IndyCar affiliate on the show. Indy NXT have been on track this week with the Chris Griffis Memorial Test, and who better than to speak to the person who topped the test? Seb Murray, welcome to the show, Seb. How are you doing?
All good, thank you. All good. Happy to be here.
And, it's a great time to speak to you. As you said, you're moving to Andretti for 2026, obviously spent 2025 with Cape Motorsport. So how does that feel moving to sort of progressing up in Indy NXT teams, making a step up from Cape to Andretti?
Yeah, great. It feels great. The test on Monday was awesome as well. We've done a lot of work previously before that to help out all the things I needed to improve from last year, and having the Andretti Cape program last year was really good as well. I learned a lot and was able to have access to a lot of the Andretti databases last year, which helped a lot, and just really helped my progression over the off season.
It was a good start to life for you at Andretti, obviously topping the test earlier on this week. So just what are your takeaways from the test? Any reflections that really stand out to you?
Yeah, honestly, before the test last week, me and my engineer, we just wanted to purely fix the driving side of things. I had a lot of things I needed to work on from last season, and we went into that test not worrying about where we were on the timing sheets. But we just went out and I fixed the things we needed to do, and the car was there all day. Car was really, really quick, so massive thank you to them. And then obviously, it was just the whole team was quick all day, and it was really nice to finish them at the top of the charts. Yeah, it was good.
And it's a funny one because this is obviously quite early in the off season, this test, and you have quite a lot of time now, not in the car, time to digest, I guess. So, just how important is this test looking ahead to next year, given I guess how limited testing time is, and I guess off the back of this, what does the rest of the off-season kind of look like in terms of preparations?
Yeah, I think this is a really good test, especially at this time of year. It's good to have that little month off and then get straight back into it before a couple months off. But it's good. I think, as you said, we're so limited on testing. I think that's what I struggled with this year. We only had one session before qualifying, and that made me struggle a lot throughout the Indy GP weekend specifically. And it's good to get back into it. I think it helps a lot of the new rookie drivers as well. And I think it's pretty good. Regarding the off season though, I think me and the team are going to put together just a sim racing type schedule on every track, and there's only so much you can do on the sim, but it is definitely beneficial, especially when we're out of the car for that long. It's the least we could do really.
And obviously last year, as you've alluded to, you were with Cape Motorsports, who shared that alliance with Andretti, very closely knit relationship. So is the transition to Andretti pretty easy for you? Is a lot of the things the same heading into this year, or is there much different compared to what the environment was at Cape?
No, it's pretty similar, I'd say, honestly. I had a lot, my engineer was from Andretti last year, and I've just kept him for this year. We work really well together, I'm happy to keep him. And I already knew a lot of the guys in Andretti because we worked out of their workshop. So it was kind of just going back to this same team, really. Cape were awesome last year. Every race, they were great. I can't speak highly enough about them. They're a great team and a really nice family to be around. But I'm really excited to what we can achieve with Andretti this year.
And what were the big things you kind of learned, obviously having that link with Andretti last year? Obviously, they have their IndyCar program as well. So what were the big lessons you took away from that rookie season that you're kind of taking into the second year?
A lot of the things that really helped me last year with the Alliance was having the likes of Dennis and Loki's data and video. That helps a lot, especially of how dominant that Dennis was last year. It really helps, especially when we're doing a lot of the work in the off season now. It just going over every race, all the videos and everything. It really makes a big difference. And Andretti itself are just a very professional team. They do everything really, really well, and they make it their priority to make sure that we're ready and prepared for even a test, never mind the race weekend. But it's really good. They certainly keep us busy.
We'll look back more of the Indy NXT side a little bit later, but just for the listeners and viewers to get to know you a little bit better, I mean, some might be able to tell by your accent, but sort of where did you grow up? What was your upbringing, and what were your interests when you were younger? Was it always motorsport, or was it something else?
Not at all. I mean, I always loved anything with an engine, really. I always loved motorbikes, quad bikes, and race cars, always, since I was young. But I grew up in Scotland, in Aberdeen, until I was about 10 years old. And then we moved out, my family and I moved out to Dubai in 2018, it must have been. And yeah, we've just been there ever since. And I started karting when I was 12. Never really had been to a kart track before, but my dad took me to the local one in Dubai, and I loved it ever since. Put me in a car, and yeah, it wasn't too bad. So we decided to carry on with it, and here we are.
I mean, I don't think you actually raced single seaters, did you? Until was it 23, your first season, kind of full time? So I know you did some F4 level stuff, did GB3 as well. Pretty quick rise then to get to Indy NXT within, I guess, just a couple of years. So just talk us through kind of, particularly those couple of years before you ended up in Indy NXT, what that learning experience was like, obviously being quite a fast process through the ranks.
Yeah, it was, even in karting, we never really knew if we were going to be able to go further, go into single seaters or anything like that. So I was still driving around in seniors, not really having an organized plan on what I was doing next. And then, yeah, I signed a deal with Cram for the UAE Championship, I think not last year, a year before, yeah, 23. And I did that, and it was good, but I'd had limited testing, so it wasn't a great like results year-wise, just because I was so low in experience. And then I had to stop for a little bit because I had exams, and my dad was very, very like making sure I did good in my exams, or else there was no racing. That's the rule we had between us. But yeah, and then I did last year in January, I did UAE F4 again with high tech, and that was good. It was better. And then I did GB3 from when did that, like April until September last year, and that was good. I learned a lot, but I was like didn't have a great car now and then. I had a lot of mechanical issues. It was just a very tricky year. And then honestly, after that, I had options to do other things, like another year of GB3 or GT, stuff like that. I had like places to go, but I wasn't really sure on what I wanted to do. I still wanted to go the single seater route for sure. But yeah, I'd never been to the US before, so it was all a bit blur for me. And then I got an offer around like a couple of weeks after Christmas, I think. The Andretti Cape seat opened up, and we just took it straight away. And yeah, it's by far the best decision I've ever made, for sure.
What would you say is your favorite track over here in the UK? Did you kind of have a favorite track from that year you did in GB3?
Yeah, I love pretty much all the tracks in the UK. I think they're all awesome. They're all so different. But even in a big like GB3 car, I loved Alton Park. Like, it was such a good track, and I'm not going back there anytime soon, but that was an awesome track. I think the GB3 calendar is really strong. We do a lot of really good races and tracks, and the year I did it was the first year they kind of did, like, we did Hungary and Spa as well, and a couple of European tracks as well as like Zandvoort and stuff. So I think those are the big like F1 style tracks where you learn a lot as well.
Yeah, Alton Park's my local track. Not that I've ever raced, because that's never even been a consideration. But yeah, I guess just going back a bit as well. Like, when did you make that decision that you did want to make or try and make a career out of this? Like, was the kind of a light bulb moment that you kind of made that decision that you really wanted to pursue this?
Yeah, it was. I always wanted to be a professional racing driver, but it's so hard to kind of gauge on if it's even possible when you're in karting or even F4. But after I did my first season of F4, I loved it, loved every bit of it, loved the single seater and how it handled and how it drove. And from then on, I did that year with high tech and was really happy. And then did GB3 and I expected to be a lot higher up in GB3. Did a couple of tests after that and was happier. But then, yeah, since F4 really, I've just always wanted to properly pursue motorsport as a career. Like, it's been proper tunnel vision since then, really, on what I want to achieve. And yeah, since then, it's definitely been my goal.
And as we said, you didn't have a huge amount of single-seater experience, but obviously coming into this year, you decided to make the move to Indy NXT. I know a lot of people prefer to sort of start lower down the ladder and then work their way up to Indy NXT, but what made you feel ready to make that leap to Indy NXT and make a big move in your life to move over to the US?
Yeah, honestly, it was such an unexpected opportunity. All the seats were kind of taken up at that point because I mean I'd missed most of like preseason testing at that point as well, so it was proper late on to sign a contract. But I'd come over here and done a test in a pro car and liked it, but was still just a bit unsure. And yeah, around Christmas time, my dad and I and my manager at the time were talking about possible options and things to do, and we were going to decide in the next couple of weeks. And then luckily that deal with Andretti Cape came across the table, and yeah, as I said, we just took at it and went full speed into it really. And then in 2 months I was moved over here, which my mum wasn't too happy about, but here we are.
And it's interesting. I know you mentioned like, you know, GB3, for instance, your results weren't quite what you expected. I know kind of as you go up the ladder, it can be quite dependent on what sort of team you are with. So if you are having a season, say, where your results aren't quite what you expected, how do you kind of maintain that belief in yourself, or kind of continue to show people that actually the results aren't necessarily representative of how good a driver you actually are?
Yeah, it is really hard, especially like a race now and then where you don't have a good weekend. It's kind of easy to get over. You just knuckle down and go on from there. But when you have a really tough season and you feel like it's not down to yourself, it's pretty hard mentally. But you just honestly just got to stay disciplined, stay motivated, and just try work harder and harder until it does like you do benefit from it and do get quicker. And even if you're in a bad car, you still end up being mid-pack or something like that. It's just, yeah, for me, it's always you get as high up as you possibly can, and that's good enough really. Obviously everybody wants to win races, but as you know, in motorsport, a lot of it is car dependent, especially when you go further up in the ranks. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is just staying disciplined and keeping at it every day.
You came from GB3, so how comparable, I guess, was the car to the one you drove in GB3? And just sort of the way the car drives, the way you race in comparison to what you had experienced previously?
Yeah, I really like the GB3. It was a very light car, especially around Silverstone. You could chuck it about Maggots and Beckett's. It was awesome around there. But I did my first test in the next car at Sebring, and obviously that's a very tight, bumpy, dusty track. But it was, yeah, my first run, I was like just so overwhelmed with the power. That was the biggest thing for me, because I'm pretty sure it's got like double the power that the GB3 had. So that was the biggest thing for me to get used to. But I feel like testing at Sebring, it was kind of right into the deep end as well, which definitely helped. Just forced me to get to the limit of the car quicker and get used to the car as soon as possible, really. But that was the biggest difference, is definitely the power for me. The Indy NXT is a really good, powerful car. It's really aggressive on throttle, and yeah, that's what I like about it, honestly.
Did you watch any IndyCar before you came over here? Was that one of the things that kind of appealed to you?
Yeah, loads. I'd never really kept much never really kept a lot of attention to Indy Lights at the time, but I'd always watched the 500 and always watched IndyCar when it was on. But living in Dubai, the time difference is crazy over there, so it's hard to catch the races. They're always like the early hours in the morning, but yeah, if you're up late doing nothing, I always used to stick it on.
Nice. And I mean, what kind of appealed about moving over to the US to race over here? I know the scholarship's obviously something that people always talk about, but you say you could have gone down the GT route, for instance. Why was Indy NXT the thing that you did ultimately kind of decide to pursue and wanted to pursue?
Yeah, I've always had my kind of heart and eyes set on the single seaters. I've always, like, GTs has always kind of been a second option for me. Not for any specific reason. I just really enjoy single seaters, and I like the ladder system. And I've always wanted to be F1 champion or IndyCar champion and stuff like that. It's every little kid's dream, you know. But yeah, the biggest thing that attracted me over here was just how well it's run. Like, following IndyCar every race is really something special. The crowds are massive over here, and the fans are really awesome. You get a really good fan base over here that are really passionate about the racing, and yeah, that I really like that about over here.
And obviously that's the racing side of it, but coming to sort of the more cultural side of it, any big shocks or differences compared to living in Dubai or the UK? Anything you've really liked maybe about living in the US?
Yeah, I honestly love living here. I didn't know what to expect, but I really enjoy it over here. All the people they're so kind over here, and especially when you're at the track, it's just yeah, everyone's wanting to talk to you, and it's very nice community to be around. And living in Indy's great. I mean, we're only 20 minutes away from the workshop here, so it's all motorsport all the time, and yeah, it's great. I love living here. The culture's great as well, and the thing that I like as well is the food portions are massive, and I eat loads, so that's good.
And obviously, going to the US, they're pretty big on sport. Have you got into sports at all in America? Any teams you support? Any sports you follow out there?
Not yet, honestly. I mean, my engineer keeps egging me on to get into American football, but I haven't watched anything. Like, I'm aware of where the sports and how big they are, and I mean, basketball and American football are huge over here. So I really think I should get into it. But no, I'm a big fan of like boxing as well. So that's probably what I keep track of most. And obviously a lot of that is held out over here. But besides that, I haven't really got too involved in any sports over here.
Are there any other sports you kind of grew up watching? I know motorsport was probably your one that you always pursued as a career, but was there anything else you kind of enjoyed as a kid?
I love watching rugby. That's probably the biggest supportive thing for me. I love watching Scotland play, and I'm a Man United fan, so
yes,
love watching them play. But especially recently. But yeah,
yes. No, well, you're in the right call because we're all United fans here. So brilliant.
Nice.
Getting better slowly. We're slowly
yeah.
getting back to where we should be. But looking back at last year, how did you reflect on your first year in the series? Obviously, you had a massive learning curve coming on to completely new tracks to you. Over racing was a completely new element for you as well as new tyres, new car. Everything was completely new to you. So looking back, what are your thoughts on the season? Pretty happy? Just a bit underwhelmed? What's your reflections of the year?
Overall, with how the season went, I'd say I'm pretty happy with it. I learned loads, and I think that's the biggest thing for me to take away from that. Results-wise, I think there was definitely potential to have more. There was a lot of like driver mistakes that were made, or like stupid DNFs and things like that, which really stunted my points and proper like good finishes in the races. But yeah, just the biggest thing that I took away from that was just learning loads. Everything was so new to me, the car, track, and everything. Every single track we went to was new. But I loved every bit of it. And I think the biggest thing that I took away from last year was just how much I learned and grew as a driver and just improved. That was the biggest thing for me.
Do you have any particular highlights when you look back across the course of the year? And I guess on the other side, is there any elements that stand out where you think you need significant improvement coming into 2026?
Yeah, 100%. I think the areas of improvement for me are just going to be the ovals this year. I think obviously it wasn't great me missing Iowa last year, and we had a couple issues the last 2 rounds in Nashville and Milwaukee. But I think driver improvement wise, I think the ovals are going to be my biggest focus to work on in the off season, and yeah, just the ones that I prepare most for next year. But there was a lot of good highlights from last year. I think obviously like Detroit was good, good comeback, finished P6 there, I think, and then Laguna was just an overall a great weekend. Had the pace there, like the whole week. It was unfortunate to have a gearbox failure in race 1, but we came back and finished P5 for race 2. So finished on a high, but yeah, it was good. I enjoyed last year as well. It would have been nice not to have concussion like midway through the year and skip around, but yeah, besides that, it was good.
Yeah, I was going to ask a bit about that because that was obviously a pretty big moment in your season, that crash at Mid-Ohio. So can you just kind of talk us through the motions of something like that, kind of as it happens, as it unfolds, what you're kind of feeling, if anything, and then I guess just the mindset and the work you have to do to obviously put that behind you then after the concussion.
Yeah, I was like just furious because the fact I was injured, honestly, and couldn't race the next week. I did everything I could to get back in the car, but there was just no way. Regarding the crash, like I was making my way up because I didn't have a great qualifying. I qualified like P12 or something, and we were easily like top 5 pace. And then so I'd made my way up a couple spots, and then just when the crash happened, it was I didn't realize how big it was until I watched it back, but obviously realized how big the impact was and everything. So the immediate thought for me was letting my engineer know that I was okay, letting everybody else know that I was okay. Like all my family at home, he was watching, so that's why I can't go out of the car as quick as I did. And then I went over to Ricardo and asked if he was fine, and he said he was fine. So that was all the important stuff done. And then after that, it was my main focus was just to get back in the car as soon as possible. I didn't have any like weird feeling about the crash or had any like bad blood about it. For me, it was just head down and recover as soon as possible and try to get back in the car as soon as we can, because it was a pretty bad concussion. I didn't really know when I was going to be able to get back in the car, whether it would be Laguna or Portland. And missing Laguna was a double header as well, so if I missed 3 races, it would have been a massive hit on the championship, and I would have missed out on a lot of learning as well. So for me, after that, the way I just kept my head down, honestly, was just fully focused on keeping training as much as I could, but I couldn't train too hard with the concussion. But just doing loads of prep and trying to heal as quickly as I could.
What was it like? I mean, you were in Iowa, weren't you, watching? So what was that like actually being on the sidelines? Because I guess you don't get that often, being able to watch the racing series that you are racing in.
Yeah, I hate it. It's the worst thing a driver can do is spectate the race they should be in. It was really annoying because I'd actually got cleared by medical the Monday after the crash, but I think I was so filled with adrenaline. All my we did all the baseline tests we needed to do, and they were actually better than my baseline. So they were like, "Yeah, you're fine. You're good to go." So I knew something wasn't right. So I spent the whole week basically acting like I had a concussion, no screen time, no like really hard training or anything like that, just keeping it steady, just doing anything I could really to get back in the car for Iowa, because that was one of the ovals where we were pretty strong at in preseason. But I went there with all my stuff like under the like expecting to race, and then I'd arranged to meet the MRI or whatever the safety team's called for like doing all the tests again, just because they obviously watched the crash and were like, you should kind of have something wrong. So we had arranged to do all the tests again, and we did them all, and they were just off the charts. They were so bad. And then I kept asking them, can we do like one more test, just, and if that's good, maybe. But they were like, no, flat no. We did a couple more tests, and the results were really bad. So it was a no-go for me for that race. But honestly, it was good looking back at it, because on the Saturday, Sunday, my head was just so sore. I had really, really bad symptoms from that week on, honestly. I think what they said is that the concussion normally takes a few days to actually kick in, and it got really bad over the course of that weekend. And especially being such a fast, short oval as well, I think it was obviously good that I didn't drive, because if I was to crash, it would have been obviously worse. You got to be so careful with your head. So.
And when you got back in the car, was there anything like symptom-wise that felt different, or did you absolutely feel fine when you were back in like, was it Laguna the next race?
Yeah, it was Laguna. It was not really. I kind of got back in and just got on with it straight away, just like it never happened really. But towards the end of the races, my head would start to get a little bit sore, and like I was completely fine physical-wise, no issues there. But just I think my head would just get a bit sore towards the end of the races. Obviously, Laguna is a pretty physical track as well. Your body goes through a lot there, so that didn't help. But besides that, I was fine, honestly. It was but just towards the end of the races, I'd get a little bit like I felt like I was overheating or something, and then just a little sore head. So keeping hydrated and all that, filled with electrolytes and everything, was a huge, it was really crucial before the race.
And as you mentioned, ovals are maybe the biggest development point for you this season. Obviously, pretty much outside of America, oval racing doesn't really exist. So how did you find that style of racing, and how easy did you find it to adapt to a completely different style of racing compared to what you are used to?
Yeah, I think the way they race, or the way you have to race on an oval, is just the biggest thing for a driver to get used to. Who comes over from the Europe or UK, that's the biggest thing. Like getting up to pace on an oval is not too difficult, but racing is definitely where like the experienced guys definitely take a toll. It's that's the biggest thing to get used to. It's very hard. You got to think like 2 or 3 laps ahead before you're making an overtake, especially around places like Nashville, where unless you're in the clean air, you're pretty much like, if you're in clean air, you're flat the whole time. But if you're in the dirty air, you've really got to manage your lift, and that's, if you're good at managing the lift, you'll be really strong in the race. But if you're not, you'll kind of just be in no man's land, which is where I got stuck in a couple of times last year. But yeah, I'd say that's definitely the biggest thing for new drivers to get used to.
And you mentioned a few times that your rookie season was kind of a learning year in many ways. So were there any specific lessons that kind of stood out above others for you that you really going to take into next year and really kind of work on, or just things that you learned early in the year that you kind of improved on throughout last year or last season?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me last year was just qualifying. I never got the most out of the car or the tire during qualifying, because in testing we'd always be quick, always well inside the top 10 every time, but I'd always qualify like P12 or around there. So it was always kind of, we were going into the races making our way up, just being a little bit out of position. Whereas what I'm definitely going to take into this year is just making sure we get that lap time in qualifying and start where we should.
And look, as you said, a pretty respectable first year, things to build on. You've obviously got a year of experience underneath your belt. So now coming into Andretti for 2026, what does make a successful sophomore year for you? What do you look at now, which you want to see end of 2026 and go, yes, I'm happy with that season? I
honestly, I want to win races this year. I want to get a lot of podiums and I want to win races. I mean, driving for Andretti is what they do. We win races and we win championships as well. So that's what I'm going to try do this year. And that's definitely my target, is to finish as high up as we can. And yeah, the best case for me would obviously to lift that championship trophy at the end of the year. And yeah, that's definitely what I'm going to strive for this year.
Yeah, I think 2 British Indy NXT winners in 3 years would be a fantastic result for everybody back in the UK. But just one more question. Obviously, back home in Dubai, I've seen on Instagram you're Dubai Autodrome quite a lot, testing all sorts of various different cars. So how does that sort of thing come about, and how enjoyable is it driving, completely different types of single seaters to what you're racing week in, week out?
Yeah, that's awesome. I drove the Dream Racing Dubai's got a Jaguar 2000 F1 car, and I wish I actually drove it, but I did like 2 shakedown laps and that was it. So just for some media stuff, but that car is awesome. I mean, it's got a Judd V8 in it, so it's sounds amazing. And that Dubai Autodrome's an amazing track as well. It's really good. So I love driving around there, but hopefully, fingers crossed, if we have time during the off season, I'll probably get to push that car and see what's got underneath it. But yeah.
Anyway, Seb, enjoy the rest of your off season. Unfortunately, we still have a very long time to go despite this test, but we'll be around the corner sooner than we know it, hopefully. So best of luck with your year of Andretti, and congratulations for topping a test, and thank you for your time.
No, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.